Hey, come on, come on. Hey, what? Here we go, here we go, here we go now. Hey, let's chit chat, this is the show now. Come on, bad black mama's gonna let you know now. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Come on, let's chit chat, let's chit chat, let's chit chat, sis. Hey, what's up? Let's chit chat, let's chit chat, let's chit chat, sis. Hey.
All right, so hot topic tonight, y'all. Hot topic. This is a topic that Chauncey collaborated with our precious Pepper. But I say precious Pepper because you do a lot for us women. So I'm not gonna belabor this. Chauncey, take over.
So, Pepper, I was talking to you, and I know that, you're familiar. I've read your book. I know your story. And it just made me start to think about women as a whole. It made me think of that mother-daughter dynamic and that relationship. Everyone does not have a close relationship with their mother, or some of us have had a close relationship and then now the relationship isn't as close. And I think oftentimes that comes from past trauma,
Mhm.
whether that trauma is the trauma of the mother or of that daughter, and then how they're able to reconcile what has happened to them, how they've dealt with it, how they have not dealt with it, and then how that feeds over into the next generation and the next generation. So we know that this topic could probably go on for days, if not weeks. But I just really wanted to kind of bring you in and see if the ladies had a specific question,
Yeah.
um, whether it's from them or whether it's from someone that they know in a particular situation. And if I started out myself, um, you know, it in no way whatsoever is my relationship with my mother perfect, but it's pretty good. Um,
Mhm.
but one of the reasons why it's so good is that my mother always insisted on telling me her truth.
Yeah.
And in telling me her truth, it exposed me to a lot early on. Um, but then later on, I appreciated that truth because it helped me to look out for some things, right? And to be on the lookout. And she shared some painful truths with me.
Mhm.
And I appreciated that. And again, it helped me from it kept me from making those same mistakes.
Yeah.
Um, but what I also appreciate is that she wasn't hovering. She shared it with me. She let me absorb it. And then however I dealt with it or not dealt with it or whatever, then I think that helped me coming along. But I have friends that are telling me now that they're just now finding out things about their mother. And had they known earlier, it could have helped them along in their journey.
Yeah.
And that's basically, it's not really a question, but more of a statement. But if you could kind of speak more to that about how we can be more honest with our daughters and when that can kind of start.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's such a beautiful gift that your mom gave you to speak her truth, because even if it was perhaps more mature than you thought you were ready for in the moment, that's also one of those things that it's cyclical, right? It came back to you when you needed it later on.
Mhm.
And I think that, when it comes to motherhood, one of the bravest things I ever did was to allow my child to give me feedback. And some will say, "Oh, you let them smart off, you let them talk too much." But there's this thing that happens early in life with an attachment cry. And this a child gives a cue, and either that cue is from a need. I need something, so they give this cry out of need, and either that need is met and the child is then more balanced in their attachment, or it's not met and the child learns one of two things. And usually it's poor behavior. That's when they what we call miscue. Or they will become silent altogether.
Yeah.
And if you've lived with chronic
Mhm.
pain in your life, you know that you've gotten to the place at times where either A, you had a day where you felt great and you're like, wow, I haven't felt this good in a while. And you suddenly start realizing the level of pain you've been living with. Or the opposite happens and you have a really rough day and you're like, I haven't felt good in a long time and I feel worse today than all those days. And that can be what it's like when you grow up with a parent who doesn't have the ability to meet your needs, is that you develop a pain, a trauma, and you carry it, and it's you either go silent with it and internalize it, or you start misbehaving and acting out. And
Mhm.
so when my child started giving me feedback and saying, I don't like that. I don't like when you tell me that. I don't want to do that. It let me know that somewhere was an unmet need. And I, as a mother, needed to step up and find out what that was versus seeing this child as like, now you've provoked me as an adversary and I'm going to fight you, which could be an option in parenting that we all might lend ourselves to feeling. But so I want to start with that, and just understanding this thing that we have been taught as misbehavior is a negative about a child, is even a part of their character, is behavior is not the same as identity.
Mm.
But if we start saying that our child's misbehavior is them being a brat or being privileged or being a smarty pants or whatever, we then start identifying the child as the problem.
Mhm.
And it's a cycle we all go through. We learn from our parents through the use of shame and or boundaries who we are in our attachment cry, because either it's met or it's not. And we either internalize that or we start misbehaving and miscuing. Does that make sense?
It
How
makes
does that
a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of
It make a lot of sense.
Mhm.
I'm just going to start with, I'm going to keep it condensed.
Mhm.
I think that when I think about my relationship with my mom, when I was a younger child, I think it was a good relationship. It was even, um, it was, it was, it was better than what it is today. I'll just say that that's what it is. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that, like you said, Pepper, your childhood, aspect of your mom carries a long way. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Yeah.
it even carries on to your parenting skills with your children today, even if you don't have a daughter. But I do have a daughter. But I learned a lot.
Mhm.
And I think that we do this a lot with our own children. I'm not going to do what my mom did and I'm going to do different. But in
Mhm.
actuality, you find yourself doing the same thing. You see what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
I love the point where you said that you gave your child or your children the opportunity to be vocal and express themselves. It took me
Mhm.
a long time to get to that point with both of my children.
Wow.
I think they even feared me. They
Mhm.
don't fear me now at all. You know
Right.
what I mean? They tell
Mhm.
me too much. Sometimes I just say I don't want to know all that. But keep in mind, my children are grown.
Mhm.
I think that I have inflicted trauma onto my daughter because I had so many unsettled traumas of my own. You know what I mean? Um,
Mhm.
with therapy and God's grace, me and my daughter have come a long, long way. You know what I mean? And I know she looks at me as not just her mom, but some as her confidant and someone that she truly loves.
Uh,
Where I'm at in the space now is that I want to have a better relationship with my own mom. Now I don't want to recreate the wheel because
right.
we're too far down the road on that part.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, but I want to have a better relationship with her, and I think that it takes both of us being conjoined
Right.
instead of always assuming. Can I say that?
Right.
Always
Yeah.
assuming what the
Mhm.
other one is going to do. So I might have to have a session with you myself, Pepper, because it's certain circumstances that are going on that me and my mom have to come to a crossroad because
Right.
my mom is also senior and I'm also getting older. You know what I mean? You can't predict tomorrow or any other day, but
Mhm.
you say a lot of valid points. So that's my say.
So my mind is going everywhere because I have, last time we met, I told you those words that we're using now. I always say that every episode. It's words that, I just didn't give things meaning
Yeah.
like we do now, right? And so that word trauma and
Hmm.
words like toxic is something I fight through all the time because I'm not, no. But if I could get past that, I
Mhm.
could say that, there probably some things that probably could have been trauma with my
Mhm.
mom.
Mhm.
But we have a great relationship. In fact, she'll be moving in 2 weeks. That's when the
Congratulations.
trauma will start. No.
That's
You're gonna trauma bond with your mom.
Yes, but what I wanted to ask was, and I know this is probably not where I should be going, is every experience or every need that's not met, does it have to be called trauma? Like,
that's a
Great
good
question.
one. That's a
I know that sounds, I just need another word, Pepper. Give me something else.
Well,
Because
let's just call, like how we labeled what we would call misbehavior. We reframe that as miscue.
Mhm.
So instead of let's first define trauma, which is simply this: too much, too soon, too fast, and often for too long. And by that definition, what you perceive as trauma is not the same thing as what I will perceive as trauma. So if you don't perceive that the fact that say you're like, I know there were needs I had that my mother could not meet for whatever reason, that does not always lend itself to trauma.
Right.
Does it lend itself to perhaps imbalance in the relationship or struggle in the relationship, or this is an area, a growth point in a relationship? All of those are completely appropriate and up to you to decide. And I think that, this idea, like trauma for my generation has become more, it's just common. Oh, that's your trauma. This is like that's your favorite pair of shoes. This is my favorite pair. That's your preferred brand of car. This is my preferred brand of car. It's like that common. Where I think for older generations, this word is very inflammatory still, because trauma carries a lot of shame, and it means that you or someone in your life were in a bad way, and so that gets projected onto you. So I think that, combating the shame of that and reframing it to, what do you consider trauma? If you don't consider it, it's not trauma.
and that's the problem I'm having. Okay, I'm not going to take it all over, y'all.
It's all good.
When I was growing up in my young age,
Mhm.
my mother didn't say things like "I love you" so much,
Right.
but it
Mhm.
didn't. I didn't think it affected me
Right.
until I got older, and now y'all talking about trauma and all this other stuff, and now I'm like, wait a minute, but I didn't know it was traumatic, and I didn't know that I was missing out on something because every other need was met
Mhm.
financially, emotionally, I thought. And
Mhm.
just not hearing that word has gotten me so cold, but
Yeah.
that's not so bad.
It's
But,
really, I mean, that's a good problem to have, actually.
but reading about it, I should be, that's why I can't have a relationship. That's why I can't love. I'm so messed up. And I'm thinking, I don't really feel like that.
The awareness of our wounding often sends us into that cycle of like, I should be totally broken, I should be strung out on drugs, I should be living this kind of life, I should be acting this kind of way, and I don't. And the thing about it is I think what you're looking for is a word called resilience. Your
Right.
generation has a lot of resilience, and you had to. And now my generation, our resilience is in a different space. And I think that's another thing, is like looking at like where the resilience is landing in each generation is so different, right? So where you are with it is, I didn't hear these words, but I had the actions, I had all the proof, I had all the evidence, I had all the feels.
I didn't need to hear it.
You didn't need to hear it. So then it's not trauma for you.
But now I read y'all books and stuff, and I'll be like, oh my God.
Well, what I get from what she's saying is that recognizing what we didn't have doesn't
Right.
necessarily mean we have trauma, but
There you
we've
go.
now recognized something that we were lacking.
Right.
And I think that when, like Celeste, if I hear the word trauma, then
Mhm.
I might have a negative connotation and might even say to my daughter, like, well, what trauma did I cause you? Because I
Right.
thought I was meeting your needs. So then it also feels like I'm lacking in something. So I think that's the other reason why
Yeah.
the word hurts so much. Because
Yeah.
then now if
Good
we
point.
find out that our mothers may have done something traumatic to us, and
Right.
that we then in turn did the same thing to our daughters, then
Right.
that's a hard pill to swallow when we thought we were doing a bang up job and the kids are telling us how much they love us. And but if we look at the areas that we're lacking in, I haven't always been good financially because my mother wasn't good financially. You
Right.
know what I mean? But she was also a single mother struggling to raise 3 children. And
Mhm.
I later became a single mom when my kids were teenagers. So I then understood the challenge that she had, even though I didn't understand it earlier because that wasn't my ministry at that time.
That's a
Right.
So
good point.
um, I think that that's what I gather from what she's saying, because now when I hear some of the things that my kids say about them growing up and their perspective about the same situation,
And you want to say,
I'm
what?
all offended. I'm like, "Oh, shut
I
up."
fed you, I clothed you. What is the
Right.
problem?
Right. And I
Yes.
think it's important too to remember that like nobody's mom who's worth her salt wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to work on traumatizing my kids in this way today.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and like I know with my mother, I know that woman loved me, but had zero attunement for who I was and how I was. And I
Mm,
think that's a big thing as mothers is like sometimes our child is going to be way not what we thought.
Yes.
And and do we have room for that, or is that going to perhaps trigger within us somewhere where we had an unmet need?
Right.
And we didn't get to live like we see them living this kind of life that maybe we think is scary, but why do we think it's scary? Where maybe we're ill-informed or maybe we know all too well,
Mhm.
right? And so how can I, it doesn't come to our mind first. How can I support you in this very potentially dangerous situation?
Right.
No, our instinct as a mother is to be like, no, come back here. I want to save you. I want to protect you. I want to love you, right?
See,
You're
and I don't
mine,
have that
right?
yet. I don't
You
have
don't
that.
have
I
that
want
yet?
to do every crazy thing they do too, Pepper. Everything they do. I'm gonna do it
Sounds
too.
beautiful to me.
No, it's really difficult because then I have my mom who's coming to live with me with all of these old ways and these standards, and I'm looking at her going, you can't talk like that, you can't say that, you can't do that, you can't be like that.
Right.
And I'm thinking just some smart things she says. They crazy. No, they're not crazy because it's different, Mom. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Well,
I
you're
definitely
talking
recommend some
about
strong boundaries.
and that's
I
like
will say
the way.
this. Go ahead, Chauncey.
No, I was going to say, in Celeste's situation, now it's going to be three generations, really almost five, because depending on how old your mom was when she had you and how old you were when you had your children, we're saying one generation, but I think they consider one generation like 10 years now, right?
Do they?
But yeah, you know what I mean? So then now you're talking about possibly somewhere between 3 to 5 generations in one room, right?
Yeah.
It
I'm
it has to
exhausted.
be explosive. It would have to be exhausting. I
Yeah.
just through something similar with my mom being here for the weekend, and the grands and the great grands came to visit her and stuff like that. And it was beautiful, but it was also very chaotic. And then
Right.
she like fussing and why did you do this and why? And then you see the things where she's softer at, but then the areas in which she's still firm and don't let them do that and don't let them, whatever. So it was just very interesting. And the fact that we're talking about this today just made me think about so many of those things. And like I said, as I said, one of the things she passed on to me, and it's an experience, even if it wasn't a trauma, like I
Mhm.
said, is not being good with finances and then learning how to become better with finances in my later years
Yeah.
because he passed that on to me. So
Yeah.
if I were to call something a trauma, that would have been a trauma.
Yeah.
But
And
um
you broke the cycle.
yeah, and so I broke the cycle, but I don't feel some kind of way, even if I call it a trauma, because it's kind of like I overcame it. So it's like it's not so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you use the word experience
Yeah.
because, I think that too much in society we get stuck on this is a good experience, this is a bad experience. And sometimes like grief and joy live like this. They don't live like this.
Right.
And so this is also the life experience, right? I'm going to have some very beautiful moments, and there's going to be some stress and pain in that. Right. So like having your mom, like, what a beautiful gift to have your mom for the weekend. But also, I bet the pre-planning, the cleaning, the cooking, the managing different behaviors and different personalities, like that's exhausting. Would you trade it? Probably not. Would you
Right.
want to do it again tomorrow? Also, probably not. But it's a beautiful experience. It's your life experience. And that's kind of, that's what it is.
And then I thought about um, women who have been raped and
Mm,
molested,
yeah.
and how they know that's happened to them, even if they've suppressed it. But
Right.
now, when that child comes to them, that daughter or that child comes to them, and they don't believe them,
Yeah.
knowing it happened to them,
Yeah.
knowing if they were to sit and think about it, which is hard to do as well, that they would recognize what that child is telling them as true.
Right. Right.
Um, so then now I told you, you didn't believe me. Now I grow up with this resentment. And is the resentment because of the act that was done to me, or is it because you chose not to believe me?
Yeah. Many survivors feel a deeper wound with the people that didn't support them than those that did the actual harm to them.
I could imagine.
Yeah,
And
imagine that.
I think,
That's where I'm not gonna say it's generational,
mhm,
but a lot of I think because we pass through different generations and we become more open minded. I want to say than
mhm,
probably our parents or our grandparents were. But
Vocal.
I'll tell you this much, Pepper, and this is jumping off of what Chauncey said, especially in the Black family where um, family members have um, that mentality of keep it silent. If you
mhm.
have been molested by another family member, and
Right.
not even just the fact of not being believed, but knowing that it happened and still keeping it silent, that's a trauma that some people can never get over. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? Never. That
Yeah.
relationship can be frayed forever. You know what I mean? And this
Yeah.
could be something that, their mother may have done to them or their grandmother may have done to them. You know what I mean? Pass it down the line. I can tell you with my own daughter, that's probably why I am so like hovering over her. You see what I'm saying? And my daughter's 27 years old,
Mm.
so hovering over her because I always thought that if I listened, and I'm not a trauma victim in that aspect, but I knew people that were, you know what I mean? But I didn't want that to happen to my daughter because I always wanted to be able to fix it. And having the mentality that I always wanted to fix it caused more damage
Yeah.
than it did good. You see what I'm saying? Because
Do.
I wouldn't let my daughter breathe without me being right over there saying, "How many breaths did you let out?"
Right. Yeah.
Literally. And what
Your mom.
yeah, like I do was on top of her. You see what I'm saying? My daughter went away to school. I thought I was going through severe depression because like I need to know what she was doing all the time. I need her to be safe. I don't want nothing to happen to her. Um, it traumatized me, but it traumatized her more because and when I thought that she was acting out of character,
Mhm.
I kept on saying there has to be something I just didn't do right. You know what I mean? Because I provided her with everything. There's no reason for her to even want to explore
Yeah.
her own identity or so on and so on, and it took years of, like I said, therapy and being able to self-recognize
Yeah.
that I need to work on me first, you know what I
Mm.
mean? And then bring
Yeah.
her into the fold and try to, one, be able to humble myself and apologize to her for anything that I didn't understand. You see what I'm saying? That was huge to her because she's told me this. And then, going forward, have an open mind because she is not me. You know what I mean? And I don't want her to live a life being scared, because I want her to live a fulfilled life. So yeah.
Yeah. That's such a great point because, it was out of your love for her that you micromanaged
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
And I'm always talking about connection versus control.
Mhm.
And we are such a controlled society and a controlling environment, and to the point that we think that controlling someone is caring for them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And I just want to let that land for a moment. We think
Oh,
that
that hit.
controlling someone is
That hit
caring.
as you said it. Whew.
that's the truth though. That is the truth.
And that's in all relationships, not
All
just
relationships.
not
I don't know that that's what I'm thinking when I'm controlling.
No one does.
No,
No one
no,
does.
no. I mean, I never looked at it that way. When I'm controlling what the kids do and what happens, I'm
Mhm.
saving myself from the exhaustion, just having to fix it. If I control it and I make sure they have the gas and they got a map and they know where they're going and they leave early and the cars were good, when they call me, I don't have to go find them on the side of the road, get AAA. I'm just saving myself.
Right.
You're
You're
saying
equipping them.
control is caring. I don't be caring. I just want to make sure I don't have to do nothing extra.
Equipping your children with resources isn't the same thing, though, as controlling their every move and behavior.
It'd be controlling people, but I'd be controlling it to save. I thought I was to save myself
Yeah.
because I'm the first call they're gonna make, right? So when you
Right.
make that crazy move, Ma, I didn't check the gas and the oil's broken. I'm on the side of the road. I'm going, no. Let me just control all of this. You don't have to think. I got it. And that's what I thought I was doing.
okay.
Yeah. But
You
that's
know what I
the
mean?
relationship.
You can't control the X factor though, right? You could
Right.
prepare until times get better, but something can still happen.
I'd be tired. I'd be tired.
That sounds
I
tiring.
do be tired. I'd be tired.
You're preparing. You're proactive.
And it's a sickness. It is. They say you control everything, yet you control nothing. I know that to be
You
true.
control nothing.
But I'd be trying.
But
My husband is the most prepared person I know. And when something goes left,
He freaks
he's
out,
like,
right?
it's always somebody's fault. And I'm like, babe, some things just happen.
just
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Yes, it
So
does.
calm.
And that is something as a mother, like with my kiddo, I'm like, sometimes things just happen. And I want to, I want to protect him. I want to put him in a glass on the shelf and look at him and just
what?
I don't want it to just happen. Okay, quick joke. My kids are literally like this. Say we go on a trip somewhere. My daughter will go, I bought a bathing suit just in case. I bought some skis just in case. I bought this because it's bad. We'll say, well, man, maybe we'll go skydiving. I bought that too.
That's
That's
awesome.
funny.
and they don't get a chance to enjoy life because they're so busy worrying about preparing for just in case.
Yeah.
Enjoy the
Yeah.
moment. And I'm not sure if, like I said, I'm not sure if that's traumatic. Maybe it is for them,
Traumatic.
but
It can just
being
be a growth point.
Traumatic.
but it's still better than most, right? And
Right.
so that's still a different kind of preparedness that they have, right? My mom always makes sure that I'm prepared for every situation or whatever, or for most situations, because they're smart enough now to say they know it doesn't cover everything, but they're prepared for most situations.
They don't like it, but it's a habit at this point.
Right. It's a
But
habit.
I wanna just I always like to be the I don't like to say the devil's advocate, but I want to be the voice on the other side where
Mhm.
we're all sitting here and we all know we are all good mothers, okay? We are engaged with our children, so on and so on. But we have a listener audience out here that may not be engaged with their children. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
And trauma is being afflicted as we speak, so I just want to hear your perspective, Pepper, on people who struggle, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
to try to reduce the trauma and because they're
Right.
so trauma afflicted themselves. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll say, there was a time as a parent that I believed in spanking, and I came to a place where I saw my child afraid, and I knew for me that was not the answer.
Mhm.
And I bring up this topic because it's one that a lot of parents struggle with. Like, how do I give my child boundaries and consequences? in a way that's healthy, that's effective right now. And when I've learned that it's this, and oftentimes we start spanking out of rage, and we rage out on our children, and we get fed up, and we're so busy working in the world all day long, and come home, and what do we have left for them? And they're so needy, and they're so, they have all these desires, and they want to just share their whole day with you. And it's like, in some days you're in the right headspace for it, and some days it's just like, it's too much.
Yeah.
And so I think, as a community, supporting moms is really important, and recognizing in ourselves as mothers, like, where is my growth point as a parent? It's common that survivors of childhood trauma will grow up to be parents who rage out at their children and not desire that, but it's so conditioned into them that it's what they do.
Mhm.
And if you are doing the greatest gift you will give the world, but especially your child, is the healing work you will do on yourself. And Chauncey, you've read my book, and I say this in there. I believe that by stopping the cycles that were passed down to me through my grandmothers and my mother and my aunts and all of the women that have gone before me, that if I stop the cycle with me and I heal that wound in me, then I've healed it for everyone that's gone on before me, and I've healed it for everyone that comes after me.
Mhm.
And in that way, isn't that like so the Jesus story?
Yeah.
If I do my healing work for me, and I let my body be the vessel in which that work is done, that sacrifice is made, and I stop these cycles, and I work, and I recognize and stop beating myself up, then I will have healed it for everyone who's gone before me and everyone who comes after me.
That's deep.
Wow, that's powerful.
That's very powerful. Yep.
Mhm.
That's powerful.
So the biggest thing for mothers is that wherever your child is struggling and having a what I call a miscue, that there is something in you that is triggered. And triggers to me are always a, hey, let's heal this. And in that moment, it comes back as pain from a trauma or pain from an experience you had. And that reactiveness, that snap of the fingers, that immediate change and shift we go into is the sign that we've been triggered. And that is also our cry for, let's heal this.
Wow. And would you say that that could also be for parents that have experienced trauma, are passing on the trauma, are digging into that trauma because they now see it as it's been presented to them, but because it's been presented to them, they don't want to feel like they've done something wrong or they haven't done a good job as a parent, and now they double down.
Yeah, I mean, free will is a thing, and sovereignty is a thing. And so um I work with our local attachment healing center, which is a therapy group that works with the whole family of traumatized children. And when I say traumatized children, I'm talking about children who've been through the foster care system, children who their own parents have perpetrated the trauma, children who another relative in the family did so. And what I've seen in the family unit is that when a lot of times these children come out with behavioral issues and or mental health issues, and they'll say to you, oh, once a child is diagnosed, once that trauma has happened, there's a part of the brain that swells and another part that shrinks, and if that's prolonged, then it's brain damage for life. And that is true, but the rest of the story is that when the mothers start doing their healing work, especially because they are the dominant nurturer of the household, when they start getting their ventral vagal nervous system back online, they can hold space for their child to then learn how to regulate. And it really is this, are we regulated or are we unregulated? So being triggered tells me I'm unregulated. Being upset with my child for behaving in some manner tells me that I'm the one that's unregulated. And it's not that he's not allowed to be unregulated or that he is allowed to always be unregulated, but it's a sign that there's something in me that's not answering a need, and it's usually mine before it's his. He has it because of me. And so So I share all that to say that if you are a parent sitting in the space of like, I grew up messed up, I am messed up, and I'm gonna mess up my kids, I just want to encourage you that that doesn't have to be your whole story. There
Right.
can be the rest of the story. And the rest of the story is you find an attachment healing center, you find a coach, you find a therapist, you find somebody in a support group, preferably, that helps you see where your hurts and harms are so that you can start healing yourself, and it will just be a natural byproduct that your child will heal too.
I love it.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I love it.
That's good.
I
Yeah.
was taking notes.
Right?
Well,
Always.
you'll always have this copy that you can look at.
Right? There's that.
Did you have any other scenarios, Kim?
I
I know
don't.
we've all.
I don't. I
Okay. How
feel
about you, Celeste?
gratified.
No, I think I'm good. I'm totally messed up and I've been traumatized and I've been miscued and unregulated and yeah, no, this was good.
You know, seriously though, Celeste. I mean, like I always go back to this because I think that on the porch we need to make sure that everyone knows the different resources. Of course, we definitely have Pepper, and Celeste, you have a group of I say privacy, a privacy group where people not say people, women can go as
Mm.
their haven. So you might want to share that at the end because any resources that we can give to people out here is a plus. So
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Definitely.
healing, I always say healing is mind, body, soul work, but it's also communal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes, sometimes you need to be loved beyond your capability of loving,
Yeah.
and it will show you a deeper love and it'll show you how to love deeper.
And loving someone and accepting who they are,
Mhm.
um,
It's the first.
shortcomings and all
Yeah.
is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And so I think once we begin that self-healing,
Mhm.
we're able to see that some people just, our parents included, just
Yeah.
didn't always have the capacity in every scenario, in every situation.
Yeah.
And when you learn to accept that and love them for where they are, I think the
Mhm.
healing starts to begin as well.
Mhm.
And but I thank you for that. Pepper, when you said the healing centers, is there a way for people to find that in their local area?
So, I think a really great resource is to find a patient care advocate. You can call, if you have insurance, you can call your insurance company and find a patient care advocate and say, I want attachment healing for attachment healing therapy for my family.
Mhm.
If you're paying out of pocket, coaches are probably a really awesome place to start, because if it's not something we specialize in, we do have coaches that do. I know some amazing coaches in Canada. I know some amazing coaches here in New Mexico, who do who do the whole spectrum. And I think, um, I didn't get to talk too much about parts work today, but parts work is basically where we internalize our family system. So
Mhm.
we have an inner critic of a parental figure. We have an inner supporter that might be a parental figure, and on and on. And all that to say that the reason why attachment healing is the specific target for this is because it is a whole family wound.
Mhm.
Uh, how many times have you seen the matriarch of the family pass away and the family falls apart?
All right.
And it's because there's something about the the blood of the covenant is thicker than water of the womb, and families bond not because necessarily of just the mother, but of the whole family bond. It's a whole bloodline. It's a whole choice. It's a whole unit. And so when we are doing our healing work, we start with us always. Have an internalized family system that you'll have to go heal those parts. And in doing that, it will help you to know who's capable of what, so that we're managing our own expectations. And it's like it's very Buddhist based in that way. And that it's like, I'm not going to co-create insanity with you, but I'm also not going to hold you to a standard that you're capable of doing much more than creating insanity. And sometimes we just have those relatives. Sometimes we have those parts in our life. Sometimes we have those parts in ourselves. And sometimes we live those seasons out, right? So all that to say that attachment healing targets the whole family unit. And so once you've gotten somewhere in your journey, the attachment healing centers, Google what's close to you, check out patient care advocates in your favorite medical facilities or with your insurance, and check out coaches.
All right.
Yeah.
And Pepper is she is the Inside Out experience. And Pepper, if you can let our listeners know how they can reach you there.
Yes, the insideoutexperience.com is our website. You can email us at the insideoutexperience@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, and so just find us anywhere. I think all of it's on the Inside Out Experience, and you'll see a picture of me and Coach PJ, who is my husband and the co-coach at our facility.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We always enjoy having you on. It's always enlightening. It's educational. It's spiritual as well.
Yes.
And we thank you for that because, like I said, just getting to know ourselves, getting to the point where we recognize that we just need a little help. We all could use a little help, and to see where that will go. When we start that, but to start that internal healing. So I thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you all for holding a sacred space for this. I really, really appreciate it. Appreciate the invitation, appreciate sharing the space. Coach PJ texted me and said, don't forget to tell the pod I said hi.
Tell them hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, James. So we just want to remind people that, we're here for healing. We're here for fun. We're here for the messiness, but we're always here to uplift and keep our listeners informed. And you can reach us on all of our platforms. We are on Facebook, Let's Chit Chat Sis. We are on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We can be reached at let's chit chat sis at gmail.com.
And before we close it up, I do not want to forget, because I said it, Celeste, please tell everybody where they can find you as well.
I'm also on all the platforms, but I'm listed under Fiercely Committed to Me. That's a long story, but I was going through my own healing and named the group Fiercely Committed to Me. After about 10 years of healing, I started sharing with others. So I do have a private group on Facebook. And it's just a safe place for women to support each other. Like Pepper says, sometimes they need to come and decompress after they've been with you and to kind of share and love on each other. So Facebook, and I'm on Instagram, just having fun on Instagram. But sometimes we got to do some lighthearted stuff too. I'm on TikTok, acting crazy over there too. But anything that we can do to connect you to Pepper or support you, get us on any of those platforms and we'll make sure it happens.
Yeah, so when this gets posted, we will definitely share all your information. For those who don't have a pen, I believe in having some. Look, y'all don't know. When I go through other people pages and stuff, I'm an old lady, so I just screenshot everything so I can go back to. That's my Rolodex, screenshot everything. So
I'm trying to learn how to. I know how to scan a QR code, but I'm trying to look into how you can create QR codes for your businesses and stuff like that. So you can
pull it off of your change your Cash App one and create it to your business, and that'll be your QR code. Tracy was on here. That's what she did for her shop. So it's simple.
Super easy.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
It is super easy.
Yeah. It's easy to do that. But that's a good point you brought up, Chauncey. Though, cool. Yeah.
And
that way, when we post it, you can just kind of scan it. And for those that don't have a pen,
I never have a pen. Never.
Now, I know you didn't mention it, ladies. You never really mentioned it, but on the website, the Facebook page, Let's Chit Chat Sis, there's a lot of community healing on there too.
There really
Like
is.
people are sharing, and I mean, there's so many people. Sometimes we don't get to read everything, but they are
No,
loving on each other. They are loving on each other, and they're
They
helping
are.
each other.
I
So
they
see
there
all
are
kinds of
resources
stuff.
there too. So
yeah,
yeah,
they
so
are.
you get
Funny.
it.
Yeah,
It's funny.
they love on each other, and I'm glad they
Yeah,
do that because I can't keep up. So I'll
and
just
they
say that.
provide resources for each other.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So that like I tell you, when you put something out on that page, you will get eyes all on it. So that's cool. That's the way it's supposed to be because we all need
That's
to help each other. You know what I mean? We
and
need to be able to love on each other, like Celeste say, and help each other out. So great episode again. Thank you, Pepper. Thank you, Chauncey. Thank you, Celeste.
Very good.
And this was really, really good. So join us next Wednesday when we drop a new episode. I'm your girl Kimmy, and joining us tonight is
Pepper.
Celeste.
I'm Chauncey.
have an awesome week on purpose.